Welcome to U.S. Defense Line channel. Big operation begins in the Kherson region. Ukrainian troops are on the move. Operations are intensifying in a key area of the war. Ukrainian forces began to deploy on the border of Crimea with various military equipment. Russian soldiers are cornered. Ukrainian soldiers on the front are making sure their advance by forming at least 3 lines of defense. It was reported that these defense lines, which were created to prevent the advance and attacks of Russian troops in this critical region, are hundreds of kilometers long and can provide immediate prevention of possible attacks. It is also stated that military equipment such as various tanks, artillery, and multiple launch rocket systems are deployed in these defense lines. Everything is being done to prevent a possible Russian military attack. According to breaking news, a large column of more than 50 Ukrainian armored vehicles was seen in the Kherson region. According to what was stated, this large column of vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces was deployed to the Berislav line on the Kherson front. According to estimates, Ukraine strengthens its units in this region, allowing preparation for a major operation. Fact that this region is bordered by Crimea also increases the pressure on Moscow. This pressure could lead the Russian troops to big mistakes. At the same time, it is reported that Ukrainian soldiers on this Kherson front have increased their preparatory bombardment of critical points of Russian troops. Moreover, it is stated that these attacks were carried out with different tactics and the active use of army aviation. Ukraine's full dominance in this key region will take the course of the war to a completely different point. Moreover, operations to retake Crimea can be launched at any time. It was reported that this time Ukraine launched an attack on the Russian forces located around Chulanivka on the Kherson front. In the vicinity of Marfopil and Poloy regions, it was reported that 20 military equipment of the Russian troops were destroyed and 80 of the Russian forces were damaged. Damage Ukraine has inflicted on Russian forces is increasing day by day. Russian forces again took heavy damage on the territory of Ukraine. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced the casualties of the Russian forces. On the territory of Ukraine, 490 Russian soldiers were neutralized in one day. This is not the only loss of Russian forces in Ukraine. Ukrainian armed forces destroyed 3 unmanned aerial vehicles, 7 tanks, 10 armored combat vehicles, and 5 artillery systems of the Russian forces. Russia's losses have reached critical levels since the first day of the war. Moreover, it is estimated that he lost approximately 76,000 soldiers in the war he started in Ukraine. Russia, on the other hand, has never acknowledged the numbers and claims that Ukraine has lost much more military force than Russia. However, considering Russia's mobilization decision, it becomes more difficult to believe the claim that its losses were less. Russia's losses are not limited to these. Russian war vehicles were destroyed. The security service of Ukraine shot down the combat vehicles of the Russian forces. Destroyed military equipment of the Russian forces is increasing day by day. Ukraine has shared a video showing Russian forces destroying 3 Russian infantry fighting vehicles located in the Kharkiv region. It is reported that these war vehicles destroyed in Kharkiv were carried out by the Special Group Alpha of the Ukrainian Security Service. It was announced that the special forces found the location of the equipment cluster and then attacked this area using mortar fire. Kharkiv is not the only area where Russian forces have been attacked. Russian troops did not rest on Ukrainian soil. Another group of Russian soldiers was neutralized. This time, Ukraine neutralized 50 soldiers of the Russian forces on a different front. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported the developments in the Zaporizhzhia region in a statement. Ukrainian troops destroyed about 10 military equipment of the Russian forces located in the Zaporizhzhia region, as well as neutralized about 50 soldiers. Ukraine's attacks are not limited to these. Ukraine's Air Force also carried out 7 airstrikes on Russian forces in Luhansk Oblast. Ukraine launched attacks at 6 locations where Russian forces, their weapons and military equipment, and anti-aircraft defense systems were located. Head of the Luhansk Oblast Military Administration, Serhiy Haidai, shared the details of the region. Haidai also announced that Ukraine's air defense units also destroyed 4 unmanned aerial vehicles in this region. It was reported that Ukraine's rocket and artillery units also hit a command post, an ammunition depot, 7 Russian military equipment points, and 3 other important military facilities. Attacks of Russian forces with drones are not limited to Luhansk Oblast. Russian forces continue to attack the Sumy region for a long time. This time, it was reported that it also attacked Sumy Oblast with unmanned aerial vehicles. Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a Russian drone on this front. It was also announced that the drone was shot down around the Myropolya region in the afternoon by the Sumy Operational Tactical Group of the Ukrainian Regional Defense Forces. While more and more casualties are being reported for Russia, the Russian forces have not had any significant success lately. On the other hand, Ukraine continues to work steadily. Iran recently made a surprising statement. It has been talked about for a while that Iranian-made unmanned aerial vehicles are used by Russia in Ukraine. Both Ukraine and the White House confirmed that Russian forces were using Iranian-made drones. However, Iran has repeatedly denied supplying drones to Russia. In response, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba demanded sanctions on Iran by showing parts of an Iranian-made drone that was dropped to Western countries. He also stated that Iran is a partner in Russia's crimes in Ukraine and also demanded Zelensky to end diplomatic relations with Iran. Iran, on the other hand, was surprised by the statement it made in the past few days. Iran admitted to supplying the drones to Russia, but told Russia it did so months before the war. However, it is very difficult to believe this statement of Iran because instead of denying it many times, Iran could have announced it beforehand, but it was remarkable that Ukraine made it at a time when it wanted sanctions to be imposed on Iran. It may seem that Iran's sole purpose is to avoid sanctions and not to acknowledge its complicity. After Iran's statement, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky evaluated Iran's statement that it had given a small number of drones to Russia before it started the war against Ukraine as a lie. Considering that Ukraine has destroyed a large amount of Iranian-made drones for a long time, this is already unbelievable. The last statement about Iran came from the President of Ukraine, Zelensky. Zelensky spoke with the European Commission about strengthening sanctions for Iran. President Zelensky had a telephone conversation with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. In the phone call, he said that they talked about macro-financial aid to Ukraine this year and in the coming years, and the critical importance of continuing the grain initiative for world food security. Zelensky also reported that during the meeting, the issue of strengthening the sanctions against Iran and opposing these actions that support the attacks against Ukraine were discussed. We will find out in the coming days whether there will be new sanctions for Iran. In addition, it has been a matter of curiosity whether Iran will completely cut its support to Russia in the coming days, fearing these sanctions. If Iran also cuts its aid to Russia, Moscow may be left completely alone. This causes the aid to the Ukrainian troops to increase, while to the Russian troops to decrease. In this case, the morale of the Russian soldiers and their motivation for the war will gradually decrease. In this war that has been going on for months, the decisions and moves of the countries regarding the war are of critical importance. Now the importance of each step has become much more important. If Ukraine continues its operations on the front lines successfully at a critical level, successes will follow. In this way, the lands of the country will be taken back one by one and the Ukrainian flags will be waved in the regions. As long as Russia does not correct and change its erroneous progress and wrong decisions, it will suffer defeats as a result of great failures. These defeats may further increase tensions between countries. Moreover, it is known that the war has now spread to Russia too much. Upon this situation, if Russia loses its defense and attack power more, it will start to have difficulties in defending even its own country. We can see this from the fact that the Ukrainian troops have already been unable to prevent their attacks. In time, the war will begin to take shape with the steps to be taken by the countries and the important decisions of the critical leaders. Every decision must be made strategically. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.